Now you can get Cox Internet and one unlimited mobile line for $80 a month, all with Wi-Fi equipment included and no annual contract. If only getting it all was always that easy. Like having a night out and getting a good night's sleep. Get it all with Cox. Get Cox Internet and one unlimited mobile line for $80 a month. Visit cox.com/value. Limited time offer for new customers only. No annual contract means no minimum term agreement and no early termination fees. Additional restrictions apply.
So the next 2 hours and 15 minutes. Adrian Broad is back with us today at the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios. And I am live out at Speaking Rock as we continue here for the big show. And we got a lot in store. Alberto Dueta along for the ride as well. Adrian, Alberto won the lottery today. Did he tell you what happened?
Oh, no. What happened?
He went to Ross and he found a ton of soccer jerseys on clearance.
Yeah, I found two player issues. I found the Nashville SC Johnny Cash one. It's like this all black one with Johnny Cash it's like a little picture on the right hand corner. And Austin FC one. That one was really cool too. It's got like squares and blocks.
Wow.
And they're like retail at like $160, so that was really fun.
Big score today. Big score for Alberto. How about that, Adrian? That's a good way to start your Thursday. Starting it off right.
You know, when you can find jerseys, that kind of price, like team-issued type jerseys, that's a big-time score right there. I got to visit my neighborhood Ross to see if I find some jerseys and stuff like that.
I'm with you on that one. Hey, the CFC is going to be happening here at Speaking Rock. Clash of Titans Combat Fighting Championship. CFC this Saturday, and it's going to be CFC 2 here at Speaking Rock. Doors open at 6 p.m. So if you're a fan of combat fighting, you're going to want to check out the Clash of Titans this Saturday. 6 p.m. is when the doors will open for that big event out here at Speaking Rock. And if that's not enough, how about this? How about the fact that a lot of events are taking place out here, a lot of events. And in terms of some of the big shows, well, Fungi Mungle is going to be here tomorrow. Excited about that. It's free for 21 and up. So Fungi Mungle, for those of you that love 70s disco and 80s rock, they're going to be performing, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And then today here at 7 o'clock, the West Texas Band, free for 21 and up. So a lot going on. And this Sunday, when the Cowboys play the 49ers at 5 p.m., it will be the Speaking Rock Cowboy Tailgate Party with special guest Rocket Ismail. You want to meet Rocket? You can do it this Sunday for the Sunday night game against the 49ers. Excited about that. That is also free for 21 and over. So think about it. We've got combat fighting. We've got country tonight. We've got Fungi Mungle tomorrow. We've got Cowboys 49ers tailgate party with Rocket Ismail. Guys, there's something happening every day out here at Speaking Rock.
That's pretty impressive, Steve. I got to go out to the Rock. You know me, I'm a big MMA fan myself. I love to watch UFC on the weekend. This weekend, we've been promoting a lot of Volkanovski to Topuria 308. Yep. That'll be a lot of fun. So, yeah, I'm definitely primed for that big event that they're having this weekend in mixed martial arts.
I love it. I'm with you on that one. I think it's going to be terrific. A lot of fun for everybody to check out. Great to have you back, Adrian, as we got a lot to cover over the course of the next 2 hours and 15 minutes, getting ready for your Rams against the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Jones and the Minnesota Vikings. Are they still your Rams? Just out of curiosity, despite what has been a rough season, 2-4, are you like Lane Frank last night, who pretty much publicly denounced the New York Giants and said they are no longer his Giants.
Well, I missed that. I got to check that out on our episode on demand. But I am definitely a Rams fan still. Although I don't know if Matthew Stafford will be a Ram after this game, or Cooper Kupp will be a Ram after this game, or even Puka Nacua after this game. I'm worried, Steve. After this game, if the Rams lose, I could see them going into full tank mode. This is like the last game right there. 2-4 for the Rams right now. That's where they stand. They're fresh off the bye week, so you don't have that to lean on right there. You tried to get some players back if you're the Rams right here because of all the injuries they had. They have Cooper Kupp returning. They have Puka Nacua back in a limited capacity tonight. But after this one, they go on the road at Seattle. A pretty easy game against Miami, then a road game against New England, and then the Eagles. So things don't get easy for the Rams.
No.
I'm worried for them. If they lose this one, I think they go in ultimate tank mode and they trade away all the stars.
Is Sean McVay's job in any jeopardy?
Oh, no. And if it was, any team would be out there salivating, wanting Sean McVay. No. I think he's probably part of the discussions for the rebuild. I think he would see the value in, hey, let's acquire some of these first-round picks. Let's get a new quarterback in to develop. Although I'll say this, Stafford is just as good as ever. He's still killing it. I still love what he does at the quarterback position. I'm just worried that if he doesn't have a competitive team this year, he might ask to be traded from the Rams, and that's been a discussion kind of in the background dating back to last year.
I'm with you. Well, again, a lot of good storylines heading into tonight's game, and we'll have it for you. 600 ESPN El Paso with kickoff at 6:15 tonight. Rams and the Vikings from SoFi is where this game will be played, and looking forward to seeing what happens when these two teams clash. All right, phone lines open for business, 505-6009. That is our telephone number. Tomorrow night, Game 1, World Series, Dodgers-Yankees. Guys, from what I'm hearing, okay, and I haven't checked StubHub this afternoon, but from what I'm hearing, like the buy-in just to get into the series is about $2,500 right now, okay? That is the buy-in to get into World Series this year between the Dodgers and the Yankees. So I'll ask you guys this question, okay? Because I'm looking at StubHub right now. And if I wanted just the cheapest ticket to get into Dodger Stadium, and I'm looking right now where this is, I believe – no, you know what? I'm wrong. You can actually get in for starting at about $885 each, which to me is very cheap for Game 1 to Dodger Stadium, because from what I've been told, Yankee Stadium is about 3 times that right now. It's about $2,500, the buy-in rate. So my question is this. If you were a Dodger fan, or Yankee fan for that matter, would you drop almost $1,000 to each? And that does not include fees. Remember, they tack on fees on top of that. But would you spend that kind of money to go sit at Dodger Stadium and be there for Game 1 of the World Series?
Yeah, the answer is yes. If I had the money to do something like that, or even if I didn't have the money, I'd probably scrounge to do something like that, because this series feels like once in a lifetime kind of opportunity just to have the stars align this way. And I mean stars in a figurative way and a literal way. Yeah. You have Shohei Ohtani on one side. You have Juan Soto on one side. You have all the other ones like Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, you name it, Mookie Betts. It's all the stars in baseball, it feels like, aligning in this matchup right here, Yankees-Dodgers. So you say that kind of price right there, Steve, and I'm thinking, that might be worth it to go to beautiful Dodger Stadium, watch and witness an incredible series that hasn't happened in decades. Yeah, I'd probably do that one right there.
All right, what about you, Alberto? Would you drop the nearly $1,000 a ticket to go sit and watch Game 1 of the World Series?
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I was in Houston when the Astros were last in the World Series, and I had the opportunity to go to Game 1. I had just gotten paid. It literally aligned just like on a Friday. I get paid, and there was Game 1, and I ended up deciding not to go. And it's actually one of the biggest regrets that I have. I should have just done it so I can say, yeah, I've been to a World Series game. But, yeah, definitely if you have even the smallest possibility of making it happen, make it happen, because even if your team wins or loses, you'll still have that memory forever.
By the way, as far as I've seen it now, it's about $1,300 to go into a Yankee Stadium to go sit in Section 422. That's the upper level. And when you add up the fees, it's $1,753 each.
Oh, man. They always get you with the fees. See, like, 1,000 doesn't sound terrible, right? But they always get you with the fees.
So I got to get back to Dodger Stadium. I want to see how much it is with fees, right? So I'm looking right now, and to get there with fees, you're looking at about, let's take a peek here. Let me see if I can get the fees. Because now I'm wondering. Let me see what we're talking about here. With fees, it is, nope. Oh, let me see. I'm looking. I still can't find it because for whatever reason, they've got the prices locked. And let me see how much it will cost with fees. Oh, it's hard to get the Dodger tickets because the Dodger tickets, you got to go through all these hoops. I know the price says $885, but I don't know if that's really the case once they tack the fees on top of that. You know what I mean? So, anyway, it does include fees for Dodger Stadium. Yeah. You know what? If you can get in with fees for, under $1,000, Dodger Stadium seems like a better buy right now than Yankee Stadium. Are you a little surprised about that, given it's the first game?
I am surprised.
I am too.
It's L.A. It's not like a huge difference between pricing with L.A. and New York, so I'm surprised on that one. I'll say this. My father-in-law did go to 2 games during this postseason run for the Dodgers, and he said the accessibility to get tickets wasn't horrible, so he was able to get tickets on his side.
Oh, really?
Yes. He's already watched them twice in this postseason run.
But isn't that interesting? Wouldn't you think a team like the Dodgers, which is just loaded with superstars, would be a harder, why does it seem, and I don't get this, but why does it seem like it's such an easier ticket in L.A. than it is in New York?
Is it is the stadium attendance, anything like that have to do with it? I don't know. That's a wild guess.
So Dodger Stadium's capacity, in case you're wondering, because that is good, 56,000 people, okay? 56,000 people for Dodger Stadium. Yankee Stadium capacity is 46,537.
Not a huge difference.
Not 10,000 fans, but understand this. One ballpark was built, 10, 12 years ago? The other ballpark was built in probably 62.
Yeah, good point. Also I'll say this. When I went to Dodger Stadium just 2-3 years ago, there was a nice, you had space between your seat and the other person next to you. You weren't just crammed in there. I feel like some of these newer stadiums, Steve, they just try to cram you in there, and you have, no room whatsoever.
That's true, too. That is true. Although I was at Dodger Stadium last year, was the most recent time I was at Dodger Stadium. And I'm just going to tell you what, we had a blast. It was, I was with my wife, just the two of us, and we went one night to watch the Dodgers play, and it was absolutely a great night to watch baseball. And that ballpark still feels like, how can I put this? I wouldn't say it feels modern, but you don't feel like you're in an old ballpark that's falling apart. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. I felt the same way. The concourse is up to date. Everything you go to is modern. It's just the beautiful traditional seating that you go into when you actually step into the stadium. So, by the way, the view is majestic out there in LA.
It really is. Really is. My question as we start the show today at 505-6009 is this. Would you go pay between $1,000 and $1,700, $1,800, depending on if you wanted to go to New York or L.A., to go watch the World Series with these two teams? You tell me, folks. And that's another question, okay? Nowadays, you can watch the game in 4K in your living room. You can watch it in the comfort of your living room where drinks are free, food is free, picture is the best you're ever going to get. So you tell me, I've always said, and I've been to one World Series in my lifetime, and that was the '01 World Series. Yeah, Yankees and Diamondbacks, Game 1 in Arizona. I was there with my dad, and to me, that's one of those bucket list sports items you want to cross off the list. Get to a World Series game. Had a chance to do that, and it was right after 9/11, and we were Diamondback affiliates at the time. And as radio affiliates, they gave us the opportunity to purchase tickets at face value for the World Series, which we gladly took advantage of. And to me, look, I didn't know I was going to lose my dad less than 3 years later. So, yes, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We took advantage of it. And I've got a picture that is still hanging in my house. And, yes, that meant a ton, absolutely a ton. So, again, it's not $1,500 to $1,700. It was a lot less than that, but it was also 22 years ago. But it was great. So we'll ask you that question. Is there a monetary value where you just say after a while, I'll stay back and watch it on TV, or is something like this, which who knows when it's going to happen again? Remember, it's been 43 years since we've seen Dodgers-Yankees. Is this just something that you would want to be a part of, go there, and witness some history? 505-6009 as we started off. We got a lot more to talk about. We'll get to UTEP later in the hour as well. Plus, our 5 o'clock hour is going to feature Lee Sterling and a little fantasy talk with Jeff Erickson as we continue live out here. Speaking Rock, the home of Sports Talk every Thursday. Let's go to Charlie 1 and get our first traffic update of the afternoon. Past the hour. 505-6009. That's 505-6009 coming your way live today from our friends out here at Speaking Rock, the home of Sports Talk Live, 122 South El Pueblo Road, hanging out with you in the main bar this Sunday, Cowboys 49ers, special guest, Rocket Ismail. You want to meet Rocket this Sunday? The tailgate party is where you go out here at Speaking Rock. Fungi Mungle tomorrow night as well. All right. Saw this a little while ago from Adrian at Enemy Win the number 3 on Twitter and X. Steve, the Don has better seats than the Footprint Center. The Footprint Center, by the way, for those of you wondering, is the old America West Arena out there in Phoenix, home of the Suns. The Don Haskins Center has better seats. I haven't been to Phoenix in a while. I haven't seen the Suns game in 30 years. Or not that, not probably not 30, but maybe 25 years. So I think 97. No, 27. I think that was the last time I was there. It was when I went with Buzz for the Super Bowl trip, and we stopped off in Phoenix on our way to San Diego, and we were able to treat our winners to a Suns game. You know what was great about that trip? The Suns comped us tickets because we were a radio station going to the Super Bowl, and we told them that what we were doing. We asked if they could get us a total of 4 seats. They took care of us and comped us. Do you know that never happens these days? They would laugh us out of the phone. They would just hang up on us. But 27 years ago, when you made that kind of a request, they accommodated us.
Wow, I like that pull right there, and also probably speaks to the popularity or lack thereof for some of the Suns games at that time. I mean, even less than a decade ago, Steve, they were giving Suns tickets away for free to Arizona State and Arizona students. Like, you just go to the game, show up with your student ID, you get in for free.
I'll never forget that game because Buzz took he was driving into the arena with the fan van. In fact, actually, no, I take that back. I was driving, and when we were getting ready to park, okay, the van, I didn't think the van could clear the parking garage. So I told Buzz, let's go find someplace else to park this. It was a station vehicle, wrapped. It said like Carity fan van, right? And it was really nice. So we drove this van out to Phoenix and San Diego, and I was driving to Phoenix, and when I couldn't get a parking spot, Buzz goes, let me get behind the wheel. I'm going to park the car. I go, it's not going to clear. He goes, oh, yeah, it will. So I get out. He gets in the driver's seat, and then he proceeds to take the van into that garage and he scraped the top of that vehicle so bad you could hear it crunching underneath the top of that garage. He got it in, but boy, oh boy, did he do some damage on the way out as well as on the way in, because he was determined to park the car by the arena.
Wow. I mean, as far as the parking situation, I'm sure it was very convenient, but coming home, I'm sure that was a little bit of another story there, Steve.
Oh, he just told me don't say a word to the bosses and they'll never know. That was his line. And they probably didn't know, because you would have had to climb on top of the van to see what he did. It wasn't visible from the from like ground level. But yeah, he did a number on that van. He did. Game was great. We had a blast. So did the winners. But boy, oh boy, the fan van took a beating that night. 27 past the hour as we continue. 505-6009. If you want to get into the program, we'd love to hear from you. This comes in from Enrique Ortiz on Twitter and X. UTEP football. Any word on Skyler's injury? Will CUSA look to make a more of a notion to protect UTEP athletes? So that's interesting. He wants to know if CUSA will protect UTEP athletes, or because they're leaving in 2 years, will they just allow Skyler's hit to go unpunished? Let's start with that one from Enrique's questions. Adrian, what are we hearing on Skyler's injury so far?
So we're hearing nothing, albeit yesterday was an off day for UTEP, so they're just getting back today. So maybe we hear something tomorrow, or by tomorrow, I should say, Steve. So we haven't heard anything today. Remember, they're keeping it light this week. They're almost treating this as a mini bye week, knowing that they played on a Tuesday and they don't play until next Saturday. I know Scotty Walden was going to do some East Texas recruiting this week, so I'm assuming he's with the team today and will head out tomorrow to be with some other recruiting side of things. So as far as the other two options go, you have J.P. Pickles, who has 3 games left until he burns his redshirt year as a true freshman, and you also have Shea Smith, who only has 1 game left before he burns his redshirt rule as a true freshman.
What would you do if you were Scotty Walden right now? What would you do with that quarterback situation? Well, first off, let's just assume if Skyler Locklear is cleared to play by next Saturday, he's your starting quarterback, no questions asked, correct?
No questions asked. He's your quarterback, and you might not even play those other guys unless you absolutely have to. So, in my opinion, yeah, it's Skyler Locklear, and you use maybe J.P. Pickles as your backup if he's available. And then on the flip side, if Skyler Locklear is not available, I think the fans want to see Shea Smith, and if that means him burning a year of eligibility, I don't know if the coaching staff, how they would weigh that out. But to me, I would think hey, if you can actually see what he could do, you can evaluate him quicker as a quarterback. And I get it, he's raw, but so is J.P. Pickles, and I don't know if the coaching staff trusts J.P. Pickles to throw. I'd be curious if they would with Shea Smith, if they would allow him to throw a little bit more.
Well, let me say this. If they don't allow either of these guys to throw, what's the point of playing quarterback?
Exactly.
Honestly, what is the point? I don't care if they throw 5 picks in one game. You have to give them the chance to see what they can do. Because until they throw a pass, we will never know what UTEP could have between these two guys. And I know you weren't on the show with us yesterday, but you were on with Minor Talk after the game Tuesday night. And I talked about this with Alberto yesterday. The fact that they waited until the final couple plays to let Pickles throw the football, to me, was a crime. Because you essentially said, well, let's just run the ball and hope to win, rather than let's take a shot, let's throw the ball, and at least give our team the best chance to win, because we can't be a one-dimensional offense and expect to pull out that game on the road.
Yeah, the conservative side to me was just something I didn't understand. I really didn't like that. And I get it. Look, you're backed up in their own end zone in the first half. But I felt like in other opportunities in the first half when Skyler Locklear was playing, Steve, the play calling was very conservative. And that translated perfectly when J.P. Pickles played. They did not want to do anything to put him in a bad situation. I get it. But what's the point of playing quarterback? What's the point of having these guys ready to go? What's the point of having these backups? Why didn't you go out and get a quarterback in the transfer portal before in the offseason? So this discussion isn't even a case, you know? I like the fact that you threw in J.P. Pickles for a gadget play on fourth down, but I don't know if this team is ready to rely on him as a passer, and they should be. They should, at this point of the season, in late October, early November, despite what classification he is, they should be ready to go either way.
Could not agree with you more. I think you're right, and that's the point we want to bring up as well. 505-6009 as we continue live out here at Speaking Rock, right in front of the main bar. We're hanging out with you till 6:15. All right, we're a little bit past the bottom of the hour. As the phone calls come through, let's take a quick break for SportsCenter. It's Adrian Broadus with the latest right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. Turn around to the NCAA tournament and was also doing big things out at South Florida. And now we find out that, in fact, he has passed away at the age of 43.
Yeah, terrible and tragic news right before the season starts, Steve. Just horrible timing. I feel horrible for him and his family. Only 42 years old and one of the rising stars in college coaching. Just terrible for the world of college basketball right now.
No, you're right about that. 505-6009, that is our telephone number, 505-6009, as we continue. Tomorrow happens to be the first of two for UTEP volleyball in their much-anticipated showdown with Western Kentucky. Adrian, I'll be at Saturday's match. In fact, going to go out and look forward to maybe a little pregame tailgate and then be there at Club Memorial for that. But Ben Wallace excited, calling it Showdown at Memorial, ready to go.
Oh, man, this is huge. What a two-game series for this volleyball program. I'm excited for the fans. I'm excited for everybody who's going out to Club Memorial. It will be popping. It will be so much fun. This is he called it earlier this week, and I agree with him. This is the most, I guess, highly anticipated matchup that's ever happened, maybe in volleyball history, at least in Conference USA history here at Memorial Gym, but maybe throughout their entire history. Just knowing what kind of streak UTEP volleyball is on, knowing the home match streak that they're on as well, and what kind of tear they've been on this entire season.
I just saw this response to a coach's tweet from Grand Paul on Twitter. He says, if I buy you a beer, are you allowed to drink it during the match? So I thought about this for a second. Have we ever seen a UTEP college coach drink a beer, or any college coach for that matter, drink a beer during a game or match or other type of competition that's happening involving their club?
Wow, that's a great question right there. I don't think we've ever had, or we've seen one like that. Maybe Twitter could pop one up, but I don't remember something like that happening. That's a good one.
I don't think we've ever seen anybody in sports ever drink a beer as a coach during a matchup, have we?
No, I don't think so either. Post-match.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a good one. But good job, Grand Paul. Way to throw that out there, and I can't wait to see how Ben Wallace answers that question. This comes in from Coastal Carolina basketball. This is an interesting story, okay? Listen to this. Coastal Carolina basketball has this new season ticket opportunity that they are calling We Win, You Win, Money Back Guarantee. If you purchase a season ticket for men's and or women's basketball by November 3rd and the teams win 35 regular season games combined, you will receive a full refund on your season ticket price. Now, I have been told that they've only managed to do this once in their Sun Belt era. But that season, by the way, they had 36 wins and had 7 regular season games left to play. That was the 2019-2020 season. It's the only time they've done this. But you think about it, they combined to win 35 regular season games. And I looked into season ticket pricing also. You could sit in the first row to watch Coastal Carolina men's basketball for $80 a ticket plus a $55 donation. So that is $135 for a first row center court season ticket. So if you spend $135 and they win, the men and women, 35 regular season games combined, you're going to get a full refund on your season ticket price. So it's a nice gimmick to get people interested and get people talking about them. But then the question would be, could UTEP ever do something like this? Now, excluding courtside seats, guys, UTEP season tickets for basketball run starting at $91.50, and that's for the 915 special, all the way up to $825 for the gold tickets. Now, if they ran this gimmick, and let's just say UTEP won 35 combined between men's and women's basketball, which could be possible. Listen, if the men win 20 and the women win 15, that's 35 games. So that could be done. I mean, would UTEP ever want to take that risk like Coastal Carolina is taking with their promotion?
Okay, I'll just say this. If you've got a 20-win team on either side, men or women's basketball, you're going to have some good attendance, well-attended games, I should say, especially when conference play comes. So even if they do hit that mark and UTEP's sweating it out and getting worried about losing some money, you could end up making more money down the line from all the popularity that team has generated on either side. Like, let's say you're talking about a 25-win Joe Golding squad. You're telling me that the Don Haskins wouldn't be full for some of those games in February and March when it really matters?
Well, that's a good point. That is a very good point. And maybe they get an extra spike of an extra couple of hundred, maybe to 1,000 season tickets sold for people that want to take that risk. But then, do the fans feel guilty taking their refund if, in fact, they buy in and the Miners do win a combined 35, knowing that with the move to the Mountain West, the ask is to try to support UTEP and give rather than give back if they win?
This could really increase season tickets because the people who buy season tickets will probably buy them year over year, Steve. It's hard to, you might lose one or two, you might gain a couple as well, but this could really help boost season ticket sales in a significant way. Can you imagine a bunch of people buying season tickets and almost like gambling on both squads in a sense and thinking, hey, we're going to support both of these squads. If they hit the highest level, then we get paid back in the long run. I love this by Coastal Carolina.
All right, let's see what Ruben has to say. He's in Central, and he's joining us next as we continue 19 in front of 5. 505-6009, our telephone number. What's up, Rube?
Steve. Man, I like the fact that you took that macho man mentality attitude towards your answering your own question. When you said, now, let's say the men win 20 games and the women win 15. I almost fell out of my car, man. How about this way? How about if the women team win 20 games and the guys team wins 15 games? And I know it's only semantics, but still, you had to come out that way, Steve.
Now let me say this. Let me say why. Okay. And by the way, Keitha's a close friend, and I love her. She's one of my all-time favorite people. But watching the women and the men last year, you can't tell me that with the teams coming back, you don't feel better about the men winning 20 this year and the women winning 15. If I felt like Keitha loaded up to the point where she could have a 20-win team, I would absolutely reverse that. But I watched a lot of women's games last year, and I saw them struggle. And as much as I would love to see them come out of the gates and win 20, I feel that the men have a better shot of winning 20 this season than the women do, at least out of the gate.
Okay. Good explanation. I'm still not buying it. And here's why. Okay?
Let me hear.
Keitha has proven that she knows how to get to the mountaintop. Coach Golding, on the other hand, he's done some good progress, but hasn't quite reached that plateau that Keitha had. So had I come out of the gate I would have been reversed and gone with Keitha first. Now, I hope that the men win 20 games, and I'll take it a step further. I hope that the women win 20 games, because then that way, both programs win, and God knows, right now, this town is looking for winners.
Well,
so
let me say this. The men went 18-16 last year. The women went 12-19. I feel even better about what I originally said. I will double down on that because 15 for the women mean they're about 500, which I think is about right for year 2 of Keitha's return. And 20 wins would be a couple more than they had last year, and I feel good about that also for the men. So I'm doubling down on what I just said a little while ago, Ruben.
Oh God, I think we're going to have to talk off air and kind of maybe do a little side bet of our own, huh? How's that?
There you go. I like that. And by the way,
okay,
if Keitha tells me before the season starts that she thinks they can have a 20-win team, sign me up. I'm ready to go. We'll be pushing that all season. So, and she's usually, she's usually pretty straight with us. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I like it, Ruben. Thanks for the call. Appreciate you getting in.
Bye-bye.
4s across the board. Gentlemen, do you feel more comfortable going 20 for the women and 15 for the men?
No, I liked your thoughts, Steve, and I agree with everything that you said. I have nothing else to agree on. I mean, I agree with what you were saying. I think if you really looked at this team on the women's basketball side on paper, you would realize that, hey, this is going to be the building block from last year to maybe improve a little bit more this year. But I'm looking to year 3 and 4 for Keitha Adams to really take flight and really, look at last year. Limited resources, limited NIL, those kind of things. This year, trying to reinstill more life into this program right here and trying to get the real roster that she wants.
One other thing to think about, folks. Keitha lost 80% of her roster and had to rebuild it this offseason. UTEP kept everybody on scholarship outside of players that graduated and walk-ons, not named Antoine Holmes. So you think about that, too. There's a lot that goes into that. So I know, Ruben, what he's trying to do. He's a troublemaker. I get it. I love him because I know exactly where he was going. Tried to bait me. Not going to happen, Rube. Not going to happen. 46 past the hour. We're back to wrap up hour 1 of 3 as we continue live from Speaking Rock at 600 ESPN El Paso. For the UTEP women and obviously the UTEP men, or something really bad would happen for the UTEP men's basketball team, and that would be the end of Joe Golding. I can't figure out. I'm hoping it's the former, not the latter, in that situation.
No doubt. I mean, you're talking about for the latter, possible injuries or just the season totally derailing. I'll say this, though, Steve. I feel really good about this basketball team. I haven't felt this good about a team going into a season than that 2019-2020 season for UTEP men's basketball. And that team collapsed, midway into the season. This time around, they have more continuity. I don't think mentally they're going to break that easily. And I also really like the surround or the support system around them. But it's just kind of interesting the last 2 times we felt this good about a men's basketball squad.
Are you setting off the official SportsTalk hype machine?
No, not yet. Because this is still a team, like Ruben said. They still haven't done it at the regular season level in Conference USA. I mean, it's a better league right now in CUSA, but they still haven't won it at the regular season level. So go out there, prove it, win the fan base in. They've done all the hype over the offseason to showcase themselves, so now translate it to the actual court.
All right. Well, listen. We can talk more about that here in the days and weeks to come because we're right around the corner from the start of the season. In fact, Monday is going to be the exhibition in Albuquerque against the New Mexico Lobos from the pit. Excited about that. All right, one down, about an hour and 15 minutes left. Really, we've got about an hour and change. But we've got Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports leading off our 5 o'clock hour. He's got a lot to talk about. And by the way, Lee just continues to pick winners like you would not believe. We'll continue that conversation next, right here, Sports Talk and 600 ESPN El Paso. That's like right up our alley here on this radio show.
You can have the best day, right? Everything can go right. UTEP can win a game. Everything else can go right, and you have a couple people that will email you and take you to task for mispronouncing a word, right?
That's exactly. You must be listening to our radio station when you're not on. That's That's good, Lee. I like that.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Very familiar. I've sat in a bunch of radios, in a bunch of studios, and seen what goes on.
That's true. All right, well, let's get things started this week.
Yep.
We'll begin with a good one between two top 25 teams, Notre Dame and Navy. In fact, 12-1 is the record between the two of them, and yet even though this game's going to be at MetLife in East Rutherford, Notre Dame 14-point favorites over Navy. You tell me, can Navy's dream season continue with a big win over the Irish?
I think they have a chance, and here's why. I think they have the best quarterback since Roger Staubach. They're going to mention Staubach's name. I'm going to say the over-under is going to be 2 times in this game because this kid, Blake Horvath, not only has he run for 10 touchdowns this year, and that's pretty par for the course for a good running quarterback on a team like Army or Navy or even Air Force. But I can't remember a season where a Navy or an Army quarterback has thrown for more than 5. We're halfway through the year, he's thrown for 10 touchdowns. He is that accurate. He's a playmaker. They've only played. You can't. They're not going to apologize for playing the schedule they played. But the one team they played that was decent was Memphis, and they ran them out of the gym. The score was not as close as the game was. I think this is a mediocre Notre Dame team. Riley Leonard is another guy like Sam Hartman. He's a Jag, just another guy here. I'm going to call for the upset of the week here. Notre Dame loses to Navy 26-23.
Oh, my goodness. If that happens, and the way you've been picking, I'm telling you, I'm believing it. So there you go. Lee Sterling,
I think you put like half your money on Navy, plus the points, another half on the money line. Money line hits, they'll be joining me in the Bahamas next weekend.
I like that. Hey, by the way, this was a 12-point spread yesterday, and it has already jumped out now to 14.
Yep.
So, a lot of money coming up on the Irish. All right, let's keep things moving. We've got number 17, Boise State, visiting UNLV. Should be a good one from Allegiant Stadium. In fact, the Broncos are 5-1. UNLV is 6-1. They're both undefeated in the Mountain West. And yet, Lee, Boise, 3.5-point road favorites.
Yeah, UNLV's run defense has been good, but they're going to face the number 2 run offense in the land here. Going to test them like no one else. Ashton Genty burned Oregon for 192 yards. In fact, when they played in the Mountain West Conference Championship game last year, he burned them for 153 yards. UNLV is going to have to try something different. I mean, they're going to have to either load up the box or really vary the different looks that they give Boise. But this is just one of those special guys. I mean, once he breaks through, he's almost impossible to break down one-on-one. So I think the Boise defense is even a little bit underrated. They're special teams. They shored them up. They put a couple starters back on those units after Oregon burned them for a touchdown on the kickoff and also the punt team. I like Boise. I think they win again here, 35-28.
All right, let's get to our next college game right now, and that's going to feature number 8 LSU visiting College Station and Kyle Field to take on number 14 Texas A&M. The Aggies are 6-1, perfect in the SEC at 4-0. LSU is also 6-1, perfect in the SEC at 3-0. Okay. We had yesterday A&M as a 2.5-point home favorite. I've seen now that it's off the books. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you could tell us about that, Lee. But if you want, we can play it at that 2.5 points like you had yesterday.
Yeah. Well, so we've seen some lines. It's gone down to almost a pick 'em someplace. I haven't seen it off the board. I don't know if there's any late news. I'm checking for injuries, and I'm not really seeing anything. But these two teams have really improved a whole lot since the first game. That's why you can't just watch a team play the first game of the season and then all of a sudden, you base all your decisions on that one game. A&M had a new coaching staff, and that's part of the reason they didn't look good. For some reason, just LSU didn't play a good game, and USC beat them. But I will say this. If they were to play USC now, I think they beat USC by 2 touchdowns. they are that much improved. If you watch them against Arkansas, they absolutely dominated that game. So, this is just one of these games here where I just think that LSU's speed and their skill position players is so much better than A&M. A&M's line play is fine. I mean, they can run the football, but Garrett Nussmeier, he looks like he has really settled into the quarterback position. He might be the best quarterback in the SEC. 18 touchdown passes. He's only been sacked twice on the entire season. Connor Wegman, he looked good against Missouri, but the other two games he played, the first game and last week, did not look that good. He only has 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. I just think that the skill players at receiver for LSU, Kyron Lacey, Aaron Anderson, combined for 69 passes so far this year and 9 touchdowns. And how about this? The underdog, 3-0-1, the last 4 in the series. I think the wrong team's favored here. LSU, 28-24, straight up.
Now let's move over to the NFL. And our first of two will be Buffalo and Seattle. Bills are 5-2. Seahawks are 4-3. Both teams are 2-2 on the road or at home. Seahawks are 2-2 at home. Bills are 2-2 on the road. Buffalo, 3-point road favorites in this one.
A lot of people think that all of a sudden that Seattle's cured all the ills. They were in a great situational spot last week. They got to play Atlanta, who was off 3 straight games against conference opponents, which they won all 3. Now they got to come home. They got to play a team that blitzes. And what is Seattle's weakness? Their offensive line. I think Buffalo's going to come after Geno. And on the other side, you can cover the Buffalo receivers, but you can do everything right, and then all of a sudden Josh Allen runs a couple times for 15, 20 yards. That just breaks your back here. And DK Metcalf is not 100%. He's listed as a game-time decision. I think Buffalo's the right side. The right team is favored. Buffalo, 30-23.
All right, and then finally, we've got the Cowboys and the Niners. Sunday Night Football from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. The Niners are 3-4. They're 2-2 at home. The Cowboys are 3-3, 3-0 on the road. They're coming off the bye week. We know how banged up the 49ers are as far as their receivers go, yet they're still 4.5-point home favorites over the boys.
I don't get it. I think that the San Francisco team's got some problems right now. So on top of all those injuries, they lost games by 6-3 and 1 point, and then last week, which should have been, they should have been sky high for that game, for revenge for the Super Bowl loss. Lose by 10 to Kansas City, who's not outscoring anyone. I mean, the teams that they beat, the Jets and Patriots, have a combined 3-11 record. Yeah, they played well 1 week against Seattle a couple weeks ago. So now no Brandon Ayuk. Their Swiss Army knife here, Deebo Samuel. He's a game-time decision, trying to recover from pneumonia. Their next 2 receivers banged up. George Kittle's listed as questionable. Now they're going to face a Cowboys team that's coming off of a bye. They, I think, will be able to game plan and find a ton of weaknesses in a 49ers defense that's given up number 23 right now in the league, yards per pass play allowed. That's how Dallas likes to roll with Dak here. So I think you're going to see Dak and CeeDee Lamb hook up quite a few times here in this game, and just think that this Dallas Cowboys team is going to be motivated. Remember, this is a team that beat them twice in the last 18 months and knocked them out of the playoffs also. I like Dallas here. Wrong team favored, 30-20.
Okay, so that wraps us up for our 5 picks. In fact, let's talk about what you've got up at ParamountSports.com right now. Halloween is right around the corner. You got a 3-day extravaganza. You're calling it your Booyah Bundle, Lee. The Booyah Bundle this weekend for all sports. Let's talk about that, and then also the free selection you're offering up for our listeners here today.
Yep, it's the Halloween Stuart Scott Booyah Bundle here. $147, one of those rare weeks where every single sport's going on. Last week we went 10-4 again. We've now won 7 of 8 weeks in the football and hit another 40 to 50 unit max wager. We're now 70-25 on these max wagers. So you want to hop on board? This is a great week to do it. Football tomorrow all the way through Sunday. 3 days you're going to get 9 to 12 games. basketball, NBA. We've got the World Series games 1 and 2, maybe greatest rivalry ever, the Yankees and the Dodgers going head-to-head, and then also hockey. If you bought these sports individually for the 3 days, it'd be over $400. Halloween Booyah bundle, just $147. Also, UFC, got a pay-per-view. That starts on Saturday morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be one of the best cards we've had in a long, long time. 5 to 6 selections there, and we've won 4 straight weeks, just $50. How do you get everything, including the free pick? ParamountSports.com. We're going to give you the Dolphins and the Arizona Cardinals coming off big win on Monday night. So you want to get Dolphins and Cardinals, be one of the first 5 callers. Call 800-400-9741. Get Dolphins and Cardinals. You want to come on board for the Halloween Booyah Bundle, ParamountSports.com.
Good stuff as always, Lee. Enjoy the conversation. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. See you, Steve.
Lee Sterling, folks, joining us here on the program. When we return, we'll switch it over to a little fantasy talk. That's right. We got Jeff Erickson standing by from RotoWire right after Charlie 1 in traffic. We jump over, and yes, our Longhorn distributing hotline continues to stay busy today. We go from Lee Sterling over to this man. He is Jeff Erickson from RotoWire.com. Jeff, he is the senior editor at RotoWire. He also hosts RotoWire's Fantasy Sports Today on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, and he has been coming on with us for well more than a decade now. Appreciate you as always, Jeff, and hey, good stuff, man. A lot going on. NBA season is here. College football, NFL, and the midway point around. We've got the World Series starting tomorrow. Hockey is here. UFC pay-per-view. You are loaded right now at RotoWire, aren't you?
Yeah, well, the 4 majors are all going at the same time. You know, you only get a couple of weeks out of the year where that happens, so it's pretty darn cool. We are hopping indeed.
I love it. All right, well, why don't we start things off on the game coming up in about an hour, a little less than that. Vikings-Rams from SoFi here in Inglewood. We've got a really good Vikings team against a Rams team that has struggled, though we're hearing again Puka Nacua back. Let's talk about that. Would you play Puka Nacua if you have him in fantasy, or do you want to see what he can do tonight before you roll the dice?
I'd be pretty cautious, Steve. We don't, especially with the Rams. I got to admit, I have serious trust issues with them. Jordan Whittington was active and played like 4 snaps last week. Puka, if Puka at least is active, I think they're going to play him, and maybe they're going to be doing some. I think they're really going to try to showcase Cooper Kupp, who's also returning tonight, because there's rumors about them shopping Kupp around and wanting that second-round pick for him. So we'll see. Vegas says set the over at like 29.5 receiving yards for Puka, so that gives you a little bit of guide on how much activity they think he's going to have.
Meanwhile, you have Cooper Kupp as your 17th rated wide receiver in your value meter this week, and you've got Nacua at number 40. Are you going to keep those pretty much in place over the next hour or so before kickoff?
Yeah, I just posted the update, so those I intend for those to be pretty static. Obviously, if I hear any news talking about a snap count or a lack thereof, any sort of clarity, it could change. But I don't expect we'll get anything else out of this.
Okay. Let's talk about players you like here in tonight's games. Who are some of the guys you would like to jump on?
Well, obviously, there's the obvious. There's Jefferson. Aaron Jones looks like a great matchup here, too. I don't think the Rams defense is super scary. I know they played well last week, but that was against the Raiders, and we have to grade on that particular curve. I think this should be a pretty high-scoring game for the Vikings. So your major Vikings players, obviously Jefferson and Jones. I think Jordan Addison's a pretty decent play, too. Sam Darnold's probably a good start for you at quarterback if you need it. On the other side, Kyron Williams is, volume is king. You're going to start him pretty much every week. I don't think that, Jahmyr Gibbs ran well against them. I think the Lions' offensive line is better than the Rams' offensive line, though, so I wouldn't expect it to be easy chunks, but I think he'll get his 20-plus touches, and that'll get you there.
Jeff, it's Adrian back here. I need to ask you a double, two questions, I should say. It's not two-parter, but two different questions. If things go south for the Rams tonight, there's a lot of rumors swirling that they could be shopping Cooper Kupp. They could be shopping Matthew Stafford even, so they could trade him to a contender this year. Could you see that ending up being the case here before the trade deadline approaches?
Yeah, if you're trading Kupp, you're kind of committing to tearing it down. And they've had a good run, so I think it's defensible if you're the Rams too. Certainly, a team that lost a quarterback would, have to be very interested in Stafford if they're a contending team. I think it's going to, I think it's going to be kind of tricky to try to place them on which particular team you could put Stafford on. That happens to be a contender and still needs a quarterback. That particular Venn diagram is pretty tiny.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would ask you on a similar note, though, if they really decide to wave the white flag, looking into college football and looking at some of the other bottom feeder teams like Tennessee, who's 1-5, like Las Vegas, who's 2-5 as well, and don't forget about the Giants, who are bad, the Browns, who are really bad, and the Patriots too. Who are some of the college players that you really like, who you've got your eye on for possible future fantasy implications, maybe a Travis Hunter or even like a Shedeur Sanders for what they could do in fantasy?
Yeah, Ward from Miami is the other guy I'd keep an eye on there too. I think I almost think he might be a better pro, but I'll be honest, I'm not a draftnik. I read what other people do. Hunter is obviously going to go off early. But looking at like the QBs, Carolina's almost certainly going to be drafting a QB. The Raiders are going to be drafting a QB. I mean, the Browns still have that Deshaun Watson contract, but they're going to need a QB. The Titans, you're going to see QBs get pushed up again because that's the way the world works here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see all of that happening again. I don't know if I'm persuaded on Sanders yet, but maybe I'm just so. I think Colorado's a bit on the overrated side, so I'm a little skeptical on Sanders, and maybe that's unfair to him, but. I see whenever Colorado plays a pretty good team that they muscle him pretty good. And, maybe that's not Shadeur's fault, but he bears the brunt of it.
I'll tell you this. I love what I've seen from Etienne in that Georgia win over Texas last weekend. And you wonder when, he gets his opportunities in the NFL, what kind of a running back he's going to be.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see Genty in the NFL as well. The kid from Boise State. That's the one I'm really looking forward to seeing him playing on a bigger stage.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We're talking with Jeff Erickson from RotoWire right now as we continue here on Sports Talk. All right, looking at some of the other interesting storylines right now. C.J. Stroud without Nico Collins seems to be a much different C.J. Stroud than he is with Nico Collins. Do you expect him to be able to rebound? Or when you lose a guy that was the best receiver in football and you haven't really been able to just develop that rapport with your other receivers, is this something that could continue to hurt him week to week in fantasy?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, it just shows that how important Nico Collins was, and they actually showed it themselves by giving him the longer term deal right at the start of the season. That they realized that he was the key, the linchpin to the passing game more so than Diggs, who's playing on the 1 year deal, make good deal. I think last week was a little bit of a one off though, on how bad it was for Stroud. I don't think that's normally what you'd expect, and I expect him to bounce back at home against the Colts. I think he's probably a better home quarterback than a road quarterback, so I think that'll be part of it. I just think, too, they saw that how effective Joe Mixon was, and so they just kept force-feeding him, and I don't know if that happens this week.
Good point. More with Jeff as we keep things moving. If you've got fantasy football questions and advice, send it to us on Twitter and X at 600ESPN El Paso. You can also tag Jeff at Jeff_Erickson from RotoWire.com. We'll keep things moving right after this bottom of the hour Sports Center update. Here's Adrian with the latest. That once again, you can tweet us at 600 ESPN El Paso if you've got questions for Jeff Erickson, senior editor, RotoWire.com, our regular fantasy spot here on the show. Michael Martinez gets in at DC Martinez 603. He wants to know Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins this week.
Good question. Cousins has had one really big game. That's it. I've got Cousins ahead of Darnold. That one big game was against the Bucs, who they happen to be playing this week. So I've got Cousins. I think it's very close.
Would you say, though, that it's more of a gut feeling than anything else as far as giving Cousins the edge over Darnold this week?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that range, I'm still toying with the idea of moving Stroud below some of these guys and moving everyone up a little bit, one more. But I guess Darnold, I have to make that decision now. That's the tricky part. I'm just going to go with Cousins here, but it's pretty close.
I noticed one guy that's in your top 10, even though he's coming off a bye week right now, and it's not Dak Prescott, but it's Caleb Williams. He has shown a lot these last few weeks prior to the bye, and you got him right now at number 7 going into that big matchup at Washington.
Yeah, that's right. I know Washington's defense has improved from the start of the season. I still don't think they're a top half defense, though. Bears have the extra week to prepare. They should be as healthy as they're going to be. I like what I've seen from Caleb Williams in his decision making, so I think that carries on after this week.
So with Jaden Daniels, having that injury this past week, Jeff, how would you assess his play moving forward? Do you think he's going to maybe be a little bit more reserved on some of these run plays here in the future when he gets back and healthy, or are you a little concerned with this rib injury right here?
I think he was. I think he did a good job of protecting himself for the most part earlier. A lot was made about how he'd get, crushed in college a couple of times. I didn't see those big hits this year. And in fact, I felt like the play where he got hurt, it seemed a little fluky, actually, to be honest with you. So I'm going to watch that one carefully to see if they see any news about, okay, we're going to restrict it. But I think they're going to make sure he can do what he does. I mean, it's just a bit that the mobility is a big part of their offense, and it carried forward with Mariota too. You notice that they wanted to have a mobile quarterback as his backup so they could run a lot of the same stuff.
With a quarterback with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson playing like he has over the past couple weeks, Jeff, are you seeing his best football right now? Do you kind of feel like he's playing at his peak, or could we see even better from Lamar?
I think the first MVP season might have been fantasy peak. I think real life peak, he's playing better now. I think he's making better reads now.
This, again, coming in from Michael Martinez, a follow-up. I don't know if he's got Cousins in 2 different leagues or he's got a 3-quarterback league, but first it was Cousins or Darnold. Now it's Kirk Cousins or Kyler Murray.
I've got Cousins and Murray back-to-back in my rankings. You have them in front of you there, Steve. It's close. Murray, I mean, you get the games where he gets you the rushing touchdown, like last week or against the San Francisco game, he's a huge force. The weeks where he doesn't, though, the throwing has been off a little bit. The Packer game comes to mind that it wasn't a very good game for him.
Let's talk about the Tua Tagovailoa dilemma, because he's scheduled to play against Arizona here this weekend. And I wonder the kind of factor he's going to have, not just on him from a fantasy standpoint, but on a guy like Tyreek Hill, who now gets him back. Is this going to be maybe a game where Tyreek Hill shows that he can go back to putting up elite numbers with his number one quarterback back?
That's the greatest. It's a great question, and I don't know the answer, Steve. We're all kind of guessing at this point in time. Yes, he unlocked Tyreek Hill more than anyone else has, but they were struggling in the game where he got hurt late in the second half. It wasn't like they were putting up big numbers against the Bills when he got hurt. Moreover, Tyreek Hill was added to the injury report today with the foot issue. After fully practicing yesterday, he was limited with that foot issue today. So I don't know what to make out of this. I don't know what to make out of Waddle, for that matter, who also is on the injury list. This is, it's a tricky spot for all involved.
Jeff, is this the week the Jets' offense finally takes off?
I thought that I saw some positive signs in that Steelers game. I think that they did take a few steps forward. Obviously, the Steelers are a tough matchup. I think that's a lot to do with it. Yes, it should be a game where they take off a little bit more, pun intended. But I think I saw some signs that I liked it already. I think with the last 2 weeks, they've done a decent job of unlocking Breece Hall, getting him a lot more involved after really not involving him much earlier in the season. I think that's one thing where the play calling changes made a difference. And I think second week there, if Devontae Adams involved, they'll probably get him more involved this week too.
I noticed you got DeAndre Hopkins buried at 93 right now on your value meter. Apparently, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to throw him out there at Vegas. It's still too early, but if DeAndre Hopkins ever can get back to health, knowing he has Patrick Mahomes throwing to him, that could be a nice little second-half bargain for fantasy owners.
Yeah, definitely. As I was ready to cut him before that trade, the trade announcement came out, and he's going to go up. By the way, on the weekend update, I just wanted to make sure he's fully practicing. They confirmed that he's going to go this week. They just made the trade official today, so he's going to probably land around 45 or so is where I'm going to put him. Amari Cooper, in his first game with the Bills, played 18 snaps, and Cooper is younger and playing better than Hopkins was, so. That might be a guide a little bit to what in terms of the workload that Hopkins might have this first week. Andrew Reid made a comment today that they intend to play him, so we'll see. I just don't know how much he's going to pick up the offense in a day, basically. So probably 40 to 45 is where I'm going to end up putting DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm looking also at the value meter right now for the Tampa Bay Bucks with Evans and Godwin both out. I guess Sterling Shepard becomes a running back to add in terms of the waiver wire if you're just looking for potential, potential bargains like a Jalen McMillan as well.
Yeah, those are the top two, and then you could throw in Trey Palmer maybe as a third. I think the big beneficiaries, though, are Cade Otton and Rachaad White. I think you'll see them get more targets like you did on Monday night. The wideouts, sure, are going to have to be involved, and I think Shepard and McMillan were involved on Monday night. I think McMillan ended up with 8 targets in that game, lots of snaps too. So that's going to be a thing that happens. I think it's going to be a feeling out process, and I think they're a great candidate for a team to make a trade. I think that them, the Steelers, and the Chiefs, maybe this is all they can do. I don't know about their cap situation where they can find another way to add a more prominent receiver, but they could probably stand to do so. I think those are some of the lead candidates. The Cowboys, I don't know if they're going to do that, but I think they could stand to do so as well.
We talked about the value meter. Give us some of the other headlines at rotowire.com that you'd like to focus on for our listeners this week, Jeff.
Sure. Lots of different features. I like our Exploring the Matchups column. Jerry Donabedian does that for us every week, and he tries to isolate a couple of good matchups here and there that you can use, maybe that are not super obvious. So like Romeo Doubs, for instance, might be one of those that ends up being that type of guy. So I do that. Mario Puig will have his wide receiver versus cornerbacks article come out tomorrow, plus lots of DFS and pick-em game tools and all that. Check it out for yourself, rotowire.com/free. Get you a free peek behind the paywall for a couple days, no credit card required.
Terrific stuff. One other thing I want to mention under picks and props is you have a lot of pick'ems for daily fantasy, and the reason I bring that up is we talk about Underdog on the show a lot.
Yeah.
And when I went to that, I noticed that you actually give certain types of player entries and who people are leaning more or less with going for. So you kind of show the full trends for people as they're looking to make some entries.
Yeah, that's right. And we have a Picks app also, free to download. Some of its tools are free, but everything is completely unlocked if you have a RotoWire subscription too. So wherever you are in your app store, if you just want to search for RotoWire, you can see the RotoWire Picks tool. Not just Underdog, but Prize Picks, Sleeper, you name it. Whatever the platform is, we have advice for you on those as well.
Good stuff, Jeff. Appreciate it, and we'll get a chance to talk to you. Will you be around for Halloween, or will you be a little busy trick-or-treating?
I'm actually going to be going to my annual Arizona Fall League conference on Thursday next week, so maybe we can figure out a time to squeeze it in otherwise.
Looking forward to it. In the meantime, appreciate the conversation as always, and thanks for the time.
You bet. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Adrian.
What he's got so far for Thursday Night Football from Jay Gruden from Underdog. Matthew Stafford, higher than 22.5 completions. Sam Darnold, higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, higher than 6.5 receptions. And Ivan Pace, higher than half a sack. That's just an idea of how you can win money while watching Thursday Night Football with Underdog, the place to play. That's right, folks. With their Pick'em game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats, like passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much, much more. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. Yep, been looking at Aaron Jones, also higher than 19.5 receiving yards. You know what? Underdog also puts the power to cash out in your hands. Now you can either keep riding with your entry or tap the Win Now button to cash out whenever you want. Well, I'll tell you this much, folks. Underdog's going to be running a special this season, or promo or bonus almost every single day. And it is currently Boostober. From now until October 27th, you can boost your profit on all NBA entries by 20%. Underdog is literally giving you unlimited profit boosts to make basketball picks. Download the app, sign up with promo code KLAQ, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code KLAQ. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. 52 now past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. Coming your way live. Hey, we've got West Texas. They're going to be playing here 7 o'clock tonight. It is a free show. So country music fans, West Texas is here, and they're going to be performing on the stage for you at Speaking Rock at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow it will be none other than Funky Mungle. And then on Sunday here at The Rock, we've got the Dallas Cowboys tailgate with special guest Rocket Ismail. A lot of great stuff going on. Adrian, the fun about these daily fantasy games is that, man, there's never a lock. And when you think about the higher or lower on certain players and their stats, you start to think, overanalyze, and sometimes you just got to trust your gut and roll with it.
I guess so. I feel like I'd be terrible at these games if I ever played, Steve, because I was like, my mind was almost breaking when you were trying to tell me some of these over the break. And it really tells you that when you watch these games and you play these like daily fantasy games, it gets pretty fun when you get to watch some of these Thursday night games and react in real time.
It does. It makes it more fun, especially when you've got you have a little action on it. You're having some fun. It's playing these pick'em entries. Yeah, I can understand that, but I can also understand for you when you start thinking about it. You're like, well, this could happen. Maybe it doesn't. Like trying to figure out Cooper Kupp. How involved will he be in the offense today? Don't you wish we knew the answer to that question? And not have to wait 20 minutes till the game kicks off to find out.
Oh, yes, exactly. And, like, how healthy is he going to be in this one? What percent is healthy is he? So you could think whether you go over or under that one right there.
100%. 100%. All right, when we come back, we'll get into our final few minutes together. We'll take you up till kickoff. We're live. Speaking Rock, the main bar, getting ready for our football game and also getting ready for our main attraction tonight. Again, it's the country band West Texas, and they're going to be performing at 7 o'clock on the stage here at Speaking Rock with 600 ESPN El Paso.